You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Manitoba Show, Rise and Shine Manitoba, here on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Today's edition of Manitoba Show is brought to you by Fabricland Winkler, Evolve Green, and AETI. In today's episode, there's a lot to get into, a lot to talk about. Joining me first off is going to be Harry Siemens on the Farm Report. Some interesting stuff to talk about in today's episode with Harry. Can't wait to talk to him about all of the stuff that we'll be talking about in this week's report. And then after that, Gordie Tumilson of Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy will be coming on the show in the weekly Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy segment here, Gordie being the marketing director and goalie coach of Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy. And then Lorena Mitchell will be joining the show live and for the first time in a while on the Solar Report, is the report that she does here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. She's going to be joining the show live, and I'm going to be asking her questions rather than her doing it pre-recorded this time around. And then, of course, ending off today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba, as always, it's going to be an edition of Graham's Opinion. Going to be talking about the Winnipeg Jets, some news from around the NHL, some storylines, as well as talking about some news from around the hockey world, most notably the Team Canada men's hockey Olympic roster that was unveiled yesterday, and also going to be talking about the NFL Divisional Round Weekend, the crazy weekend it was in the NFL, as well as giving my pick for who is going to be representing the AFC and NFC in Super Bowl 56, and then I'll also be finishing off with a rant on why I hate snowbanks at this time of year. So that's all coming up today on a jam-packed edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba show here on ASTV Productions. And once the intro runs, you know what it's time to do, Manitoba. It's time to rise and shine here on ASTV. And it's time to start off today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba with the weekly segment that we do here every Wednesday morning to start off Manitoba show with Harry Siemens, farm journalist, on this week's edition of the Farm Report, brought to you by Wolf Enterprises. And Harry joining the show, of course, as always, this time on this January 26th date here in 2022. Harry, how are you doing on this Wednesday morning? Today we got a lot to talk about, but how are you doing on this Wednesday?
Number one, I love snowbanks.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. My, you know what? I'll clarify this. They look nice, but when you're driving, sometimes they cause the not the best visibility. I've had some problems with.
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, that's.
The other thing is, you know what? The temperature swings, and I go to a massage therapist. His name is Nathan, and we've had tremendous temperature swings in the last month. You know, like even minus 30 yesterday, and it's supposed to go what plus minus 2 plus 2 whatever, and then back to minus 30. You know, for people that have all kinds of issues with their bodies, especially if they're getting to the age that mine is. You know, it's a really tough. And I asked Nathan, who's studied body and so forth. I says, is it a wives' tale or do I just really hurts when the temperature swings. And he says, Harry, pressure and temperature, absolutely, it affects our bodies tremendously. And then I shared that with somebody else, and they said, yes, even the cattle, the livestock out there, they notice it too. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in. If you got body pains that are different the last couple of days, again, there's a reason. Pressure, atmospheric pressure, and the temperature swings. And so other than that, you know what? I'm great.
Yeah, it's great to hear, and that's interesting. Interesting to learn about that. I had no idea that that was even a thing about the temperature changes and how it can affect the body. But yeah, one more thing about snowbanks before we get into the real topics here. They're fun to climb on. I will say that snowbanks are fun to climb on, but yeah. You guys will hear about my rant to end off today's edition of Rise and Shine later on here on Manitoba Show. But Harry, some big news right now. Talking about the truckers, the truck convoy happening across really all provinces right now in Canada. I had a chance to read up that there's been a GoFundMe that's been started as well. $4.7 million have been raised on the GoFundMe for this cause by Tamara Lich. Apparently, she's a separatist of the Maverick Party, and it states that the money will go towards fuel as well as food and lodgings for big riggers taking part in the convoy. Apparently, I heard that this money got froze as well by GoFundMe. But, talking about this, Harry, this truck convoy right now, really, I'd say probably the biggest story right now.
Well, it probably should be. The mainstream media aren't really covering it. They're covering it from a negative standpoint. And let me just clarify something first. I'm vaxxed, and I've told you that before. So to me, this isn't about vaccine or whatever. Right now, I finished doing a couple of articles, and I sent you one of them, I think. Where even before COVID, the whole trucking business isn't as attractive. Not only that, the truck drivers that are out there are getting older. We're not getting new. And yet we're needing more and more and more truck drivers. We need more and more trucks to come from the United States to Canada, vice versa. So all of a sudden, we've got the mandate, and there's a lot fewer truck drivers. So number one, I just want to let everybody know, I don't think there's a good, any kind of product that doesn't somewhere get moved either by a van, by a trailer, by a truck, you name it. So that's number one. We need truck drivers. In fact, we need I saw one documentary of a truck company out of Portage la Prairie, and 125 trucks, and I think he was at least 10 to 15 or 20 drivers short before the mandate set in. So, here's a guy with 125 trucks. I think he said something like $1.5 million investment in each truck. That's just to put them on the road. That doesn't mean, and so we a lot of times, I don't know what your attitude is of a truck driver. My attitude has changed tremendously over the last year and a half, because I have become very close friends with two truckers. One is Abe Giesbrecht from Plum Coulee, and another one is John Weed. Abe got the vaccine. He's out in Texas back and forth hauling. John did not, and he's on the truck convoy. He texted me I talked to him in Kenora this morning. So this isn't just about vaccine. This is about an industry that we need probably more so than anything else. And right now, my goal is to simply say, let's promote the trucking industry. Let's not put it down, because all of us will need a truck somewhere, sometime. And so that to me is the biggest thing. And Rick Bergman is the chair of Canadian Pork Council. Rick runs a business in Steinbach. He's a hog producer. He's a close friend of mine. And I had a chance to visit with him last Saturday morning. And he says, you know what? We've got trucks sitting on the other side of the border that want to haul feed this way to feed the pigs and the animals on this side. We got trucks sitting on this side of the border, meaning the north side, and that are wanting to take live pigs, and we sell millions of weanlings. Those are the little baby pigs and feeder pigs to producers in Iowa and Minnesota and North Dakota and those places. And right now they can't move. So we've got live pig, and you know what? You can't put a live pig on the shelf. Right. You can't put it in the freezer unless you kill it. And so I also understand that we had 2 processing plants. The big one in Brandon, Maple Leaf, which probably does anywhere from 80 to 90,000, maybe 100,000 pigs a week. They shut down on Saturday for one day because they didn't have trucks to move the processed or the slaughtered product. And so did High Life at Portage la Prairie. So anyway, the other thing is the GoFund is working. I know my friend was able to get some of that money, and so that money has been released, even though they're keeping very strict tabs on it because it's over $5 million. Wow. And the convoy, there's conflicting reports. But I know I've talked to guys that have sent me videos where they sat for an hour and a half to watch the convoy from beginning to end. And so it places, it's big. And yet, the federal government doesn't like this process or this protest. So we've got some real issues as to what's going to be happening. My main goal is we need a trucking industry that is second to none. Because we're moving product, we need to move more product. And so that's my take today on the truckers' protest, but far bigger is it the fact that we need the trucking industry to grow because we need more goods and services than we've ever needed before.
Yeah, and bringing that up, talking about the importance of the trucking industry, talking about those protests, this brings up the question. This is what I'm interested to know about Harry. Just talking about the leverage that these truckers have in this situation if they are protesting, to know that they're protesting these mandates, how that will bode for them, in your opinion.
Well, I really don't know. Like right now, like I say, they were in Kenora, Ontario this morning, and so they're going to continue on. What I think the heels are dug in at the federal government's level. They've said they're not going to change no matter what. So I'm not sure what is going. Again, I'm hoping that we're going to see an industry that is going to be better than instead of worse when this is all said and done. Because believe it or not, we need the shelves. Some people say they're emptier than they maybe are, but we just walk into a store and the stuff that you were able to buy last week, you can't buy this week. And it's because there's a supply situation. Is it one that's been created, or is it one by necessity? That's the other question that we need to look at. So I'm hoping that we can get some kind of a resolve that will allow our trucking industry, our trucks to flow across. You know what? Just before these mandates set in, they were essential service. And all of a sudden, just like that, they are not essential service anymore. And so that's another issue that they're going to have to somehow resolve. It's hard for a person in the city of Winnipeg or any city to understand how much we need these trucks. But let me tell you, every product, every good, every service somewhere along the line is connected to a truck.
Yeah. And, very interesting times right now, what is going down. Yep. With this Freedom Convoy is what they're calling it. The trucker convoy going down right now. Yep. In the north here in Canada. But yeah, as the story continues to progress and update, we'll for sure keep tabs on it here on the Farm Report. Harry, moving away from this though, talking about some stuff that you mentioned to me yesterday, the KAP Keystone AG producers annual meeting. What's that all about?
Okay, it's called the Keystone Agricultural Producers, and it's an association that started 38 years ago. And guess what? I was on the ground floor. I remember Jack Penner, who was then the provisional president of Keystone Ag Producers, and we would go to meetings across the province, and I'd go with him, and he was there promoting the Keystone Agriculture Producers, and I had the privilege once they got going. I did a series of sales training with farmers across the province, because they had to sell memberships. And so at that time, it was the farmers selling the memberships to build their organization. Today, it's the organization of Manitoba. It's recognized by the province so that they can officially, collect the memberships from farmers, and so they're having their annual meeting. But normally we'd be in the city at one of the hotels, but it's all virtual. It's a Zoom meeting, and so I think yesterday, at one time there were 170 people attending online with the Zoom meeting. So it's probably a couple of the biggest issues that are being discussed. And even this morning, I was watching a fella from the Myers Norris Penny MNP, and he was talking about market prices and costs and so forth. And the real challenge is that we didn't have a very big crop, and a lot of farmers had very little crop last year. So now, the crop prices, of course, went up. They've come back down a little bit. So it's really interesting. And the input costs have gone up so high. So now you're looking at canola, which, the normal price a number of years ago was, $8-9. Well, now the break even is $13 a bushel. And that's how much the costs have gone up. And, I don't have it all by memory, but I remember that one specifically. So we have the price input costs that have gone up. The other thing is, and I've said this before, you take a canola crop, it probably costs $200 to $300 an acre, depending where you are, to put in a crop. So now we have our subsoil moisture is lacking. I mean, we've got lots of snow, and we thank God for that snow. But right now, the subsoil moisture has not improved one iota because none of that snow has melted, right? And a lot of that snow doesn't necessarily soak in fall or in spring. But what happens is it fills up the rivers and the dugouts and all those kinds of things. So when you talked about the snowbank before, I says, hey, guys, especially at that Keystone Ag Producers, they too. I mean, we would love to see that snow stay on the fields even instead of building up into huge banks, but we just aren't in control of that. So that's the whole issue. So we're, a couple of things there at the Ag. They're very concerned with what's going on at the federal level, carbon tax and climate change policy and all that, and how will agriculture. And the big thing is that when they talk about carbon sequestration, however that word is pronounced, it's the farmers have probably done a better job than anybody in the world. They know exactly what they're doing, and so that's the other issue. Will all those things price agriculture out of the marketplace? It's really a challenge that the farmers are facing. So right now, listening to what was going on at we call it CAP. It's Keystone Agricultural Producers. The short version, everybody knows it by CAP, KAP. And so it's the main farm organization. They have a board of directors, and they make decisions. They deal a lot with government. They do a lot of education. Today, when I get back to watch after this, it'll be all about mental health. It's a big issue on mental health because mental health is a real
Yeah.
It's always been a problem, but it's a bigger problem right now with the COVID and finances and all that kind of stuff.
Some interesting stuff there, Harry, and interesting about the moisture as well. What effects that'll have with the amount of snow that we've been having. Some interesting stuff there for sure. We'll end off with this, Harry. End off with this is your farming tip of the week for farmers here on this week's edition of Siemens Says here on Rise and Shine.
Well, last year, some farmers got caught with forward selling too much of their crop. And then they didn't have a crop, and then they weren't able to buy back the contract at the normal price, and then the price went up, almost doubled in some cases. So they got dinged really bad. Listening to the speaker as I was coming here to do the show from Myers, Norris, Penny, basically said, you know what, make sure you do your homework. Make sure you know what it costs you to produce a crop. And if you're signing a forward contract, then make sure you read the fine print as well, because they did a survey of the farmers that were there today, and maybe 15 to 20 to 25% actually admitted to the fact that they did read all the contract, but the rest of them said, well, sometimes and sometimes not. So that's my farming tip of the week today. Go forward, make sure you know what it costs you to grow a crop. Number two, if you're going to forward contract, read the contract to the very end and know exactly what you're getting into.
Well, yeah, I think that's a really good message. Always read what you're getting into. Always read the contract that you're signing, because, it's a pretty big decision there. But, Harry, thanks for coming on this week's edition of the Farm Report. I'm sure we'll have updates on the truck convoy next week. We'll continue talking about it, as well as other stuff that, we always seem to talk about here on Rise and Shine. But until next week, you take care, you stay safe, and we'll see you then.
Take care. Thank you very much.
No problem, Harry. You take care. Harry Siemens on this week's edition of the Farm Report on Rise and Shine Manitoba. Some interesting stuff that we talked about today. If you enjoyed this week's edition of the Farm Report, be sure to leave a like or a reaction if you're watching on Facebook. Share it, whatever you guys want. Sharing our stuff here on ASTV just not only helps growing Harry's profile and just his socials, but also helps us grow here on ASTV Productions as well. And speaking of ASTV Productions here on Rise and Shine Manitoba, we ain't done. Of course, we're far from it. In today's edition of the show, I'm going to be going up next here in the show, talking to the second guest in today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Gordie Tumilson comes on the show here on this Wednesday morning to talk about all things Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy, what happened in the past weekend for the U15 Male Prep Buffaloes team that they have, as well as the week of practice, the goalie meetings that Gordie is having with the goalies this week, as well as talking about the dorm progress that the academy is having at this point, and also talking about the upcoming weekend of games for all three teams in Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy for the Buffaloes. You're watching Rise and Shine Manitoba. Stick around, folks, for more after this commercial break. On this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy, Gordie Tumilson. Gordie, how are you doing this week? Great to have you on the show once again. Some action for the academy this past weekend. Start off with that. The action that was, for the academy this weekend, the teams that were in action, the U15s.
Yeah, the U15 kids went out, had an okay game, I guess, on Saturday against the Notre Dame Hounds in Wilcox. Lost the hockey game, but it wasn't a real thrashing. It was closer than the score probably looked. But at the end of the day, we played a game, got back. The kids have not played in a while, so that's kind of the first game in about 3 weeks since Christmas, and boy. So they got back, they got their feet going and whatnot, and then they played on Sunday and won the hockey game. So I think we lost 6-0 on Saturday, and then on Sunday we won 4-0. Keane Reed got us first shutout of the season, first shutout for that particular team ever, I believe. And so that's really good for us and good for the young guys. We outshot the other club. So maybe we're better playing at 9 in the morning than 4 in the afternoon. I think that might be the key to the whole thing. And of course, Notre Dame's got to worry about that because that's the second time we've beaten them after a loss on Saturday afternoon. We beat them on Sunday morning. So maybe mornings aren't for the kids from Saskatchewan.
Before we continue, Gordie, could I get you to adjust your camera pointed down a bit more? There you go. Just because your face was kind of cut off a bit there.
Well, most people would probably like that. Thank you, Graeme. That was a nice setup comment.
Yeah, great that the U15s were able to salvage the weekend after losing the first game of the weekend and going out and shutting out Notre Dame. Talk about Keane Reed. I mean, going more in depth into his performance, going more into depth into that, just the performance that he had, how he was able to come out with a shutout on Sunday morning.
Well, interestingly enough, that game, the signal from Wilcox was cut off. We did not get the internet game we would normally get. And so, as we all know, that internet thingy is pretty important to all this. And so when we didn't see a second of it, and I haven't seen the if they did record it, I haven't seen the YouTube game yet. But in all comments that it was a strong game in goal. Made some big saves. Was steady. The D played pretty darn well. You made 30 odd saves and way to go, our guys. You get a win, you get a shutout. Typically, a shutout's a real team effort. The defense has got to be on the game. The forwards back checking, doing all that stuff, picking up loose pucks, moving them away from the net, not giving the guys good scoring chances. So I'm going to assume that was the case, and I'll certainly get that message when I'm at practice with the kids the next time.
Yeah, great to hear, and not great to hear that the internet wasn't working. Wilcox was down, and you didn't get to see the game yet, Gordie. But hopefully, they're able to get that out to you so you can, check out the performance that one of the goaltenders that you work with in the academy, Keane Reed, had this past Sunday against Notre Dame. Taking a look at the standings, Notre Dame, of course, 6-13 on the season. Being able to beat a team like Notre Dame, obviously they got skill, but a team that hasn't put up the most wins this season, definitely a good confidence booster for this group of U15 Buffaloes at this point in the season to be able to get a win against a school as highly touted as Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, their team, they don't have any superstars in their team. That may be they don't have any sort of natural goal scoring guys and all of that kind of thing. So maybe they struggle a little bit on that side of the puck, but they're a good, solid team. They play pretty well. If they're playing with a little bit of emotion, they're hard to beat. I guess they show up and they're not as hard. They don't show up sometimes ready to play, and maybe that's the age of the players and the quality of the players. They just don't get there and play as good as they can. So at the end of the day, we're glad to have beaten a team that's ahead of us in the standings and come back from a significant loss to have a significant win. Yeah, that's really good for us.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, just great for this team to be able to go out and be able to beat Notre Dame in the 2 weekend games that they played this past week, and 2 games that were kind of emergency games in a way, games that were kind of thrown at you guys and put on the schedule on short notice. But great that the boys were able to come away with a 1 win over the past weekend for the U15 program. Talking about this week, Gordie, for the academy, what's going to be worked on in practice for all 3 teams in the academy gearing up for the upcoming weekend?
Well, I know that the coaches are working a lot on fitness. That's something that we think we need to be better at. And none of our teams are on the overly skilled side of things, and so we can't rely on game-breaking goal scorers or maybe huge games in goal for our goalies. We get steady goalies, steady forward, steady D. But if we can out skate teams and out hustle teams and be on the puck and not give teams time and space, well, that's a key to anybody's success. So I know fitness will be a big part of that. So lots of skating, of course, puck movement, forecheck, trying to keep the puck in the other end of the rink. I know those are always prime things for our coaching staff, and that'll be key for the next 3 weeks. In fact, maybe the next month, because we're still working on things until the end of February. Playoffs start in March, so that'll be what we're on. We're on fitness, forecheck, and back check, and score timely goals when we get a chance.
Right on. You know the old saying how it goes, Gordie. I'm not sure if you heard this one, but forecheck, paycheck, back check. I mean, forecheck, back check, paycheck. What it is. See, I screwed up. I don't know it even that well. So.
There you go. Well, you're not old enough to get that right yet, dude. I should have been the one that brought that one to your attention. But yeah, I've heard that before, and if they do it in French, it's even funnier. So there you go.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, I can't believe I screwed that one up, but hey, it's okay.
You can't cut that out, by the way. You got to leave that in. That's good.
Yeah, gotta leave it in. Gotta leave it in. I'll take this one with a grain of salt once it's out. But talking about the goalie meetings, Gordie, what you're going to be talking about with the goaltenders coming up this weekend. This week.
Yeah, we've got I've had a goalie meeting yesterday with River Johnson, 1 hour and 45 minutes. That's about 45 minutes longer than either one of us could kind of handle. We got into some really good detail, and I think we're going to really bear down on the little wee things, the tiny stuff that things happen during a hockey game, and if you're not detailed enough, they come back to haunt you for sure. And so we're going to I'm going to be really promoting following the puck out from behind the net, behind the goal line into the slot, over the blue line, whatever that means, wherever that puck goes, if it's moving from side of the net or side of the rink to the front, anywhere in front of us, following that puck out, attacking the slot, being out there. That's one key area that we need to work on. We need to be really tough on plays around the goalpost, which we do work on a lot. We're trying to take away anything that's a surprise goal or a bad goal, cheap goal. Those kind of things kind of really ruin hockey games for teams. And we're not in the position this year to give up a lot of goals that are questionable, no matter whose fault it is. We don't care about the fault or good play in the other team, but we need to be on our toes the whole 60 minutes. And be ready for little faux pas that go on, and correct those now, so that we don't get into trouble along the way. I kind of let some of this slip a little bit this year, and shame on me. But we had such a difficult year for the most part with the number of shots and the number of plays in our end. The time of possession in our end was just horrendous for the most part. And so I really didn't get after the kids on this, but we're going into the playoffs and we want to try and upset some people. And so getting to the playoffs and then playing in the playoffs, we want to be as stingy as we possibly can. And that's what we're going to work on this week and every other week now, making the big fancy saves and being out there doing what we're supposed to be doing. That's pretty much, we've got that figured out now for the most part. now it's tidying up some of the little loose ends that are going to make us better.
Yeah, for sure. Just tidy up those little things, get them right as playoff time is coming up very soon. It's going to be here before we know it. So great that you're, going to get on the goalies about that, Gordie, as playoff time is coming up. But, before we get into the upcoming weekend for teams in the academy, saw this post on your guys' Facebook, Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, just for anyone who wants to check it out. That's exactly how the Facebook name is spelled for Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy on Facebook. But some dorm construction progress report on that, how that's coming along at this point.
Well, it's moving along, and it has to move along. There's, we're looking at not only the 3 teams that we have this year, but a U18 team that might be part of our program before we know it. I know the decision's kind of in the works, and it could be today, tomorrow, the next day that we find out. We get that U18, it'll be 4 teams, 80 kids, maybe some auxiliary staff, some coaching people that might want to be able to have to stay in the place. There's lots of things that we're going to be going to need that facility for. So, yeah, the foundation is in, the walls are up in terms of that. The first floor is getting ready to be put in, and so lots of work has been done. It's well on its way, I guess. The beginning of it, and so I know there'll be a lot of workers as soon as the weather breaks a little bit, so that we don't have either 100 below, and of course I never exaggerate, so there you go. It must be 100 below in some kind of a degree. I don't know what kind of Celsius, Fahrenheit, or some other monster thing, but and of course you get out of the snow for a bit, so that we're having to fight with that. But once we get by all that, it'll be 16 hours a day going at trying to get this thing up and running, and because we're going to need it for the middle of August for sure.
Yeah, well, I got a term for it, GT temperature, stands for Gordie Tumilson. So
yeah, there you go. You can do that. Yeah.
So 100 below in GT temperature, not Celsius, not Fahrenheit, since I don't think 100 below exists in any of those. But yeah, exciting that we very might well be seeing a new addition to the Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy in terms of another U18 program being added. Some exciting stuff for sure at this time for the.
I was going to say, Graeme, the next time you're out, you guys can swing by there and take some pictures, and we'd have some shots for the folks, on these shows that you guys produce.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it, Gordie. That's a very good idea. You're always thinking ahead.
That's why I'm the marketing guy.
Exactly. You're the marketing director, Gordie. No doubt about it. But let's talk about the upcoming weekend of games for the teams in the academy. What's going on this upcoming weekend?
Well, the little guys, I call them the little guys, are all bigger than me and whatnot. But the U15s are at home for a series with the Rink Hockey Academy this weekend, and there's a couple games there, so that we're kind of looking forward to that, and just checking the schedule to make sure I don't make any boo-boos here. We've got the big guys are away. The U17s are away in Calgary and playing some games there. They've got IHA and Edge and Tabor and tournament games that way. So I think we've got 4 games scheduled on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the U17 boys in Calgary. And just going to catch the girls' schedule here real quick. I think they're in Winnipeg, if I'm not mistaken. And so we've got a full slate of games, and it's about time. We've struggled with COVID. We've struggled with all these other issues going on. And the girls are. The girls are at home at Bell MTS Iceplex for 2 games, Friday night and then Saturday, 4 p.m. Friday, and then Saturday at 10:45 at Bell MTS Iceplex against St. Mary's Academy. And St. Mary's has had our number this year a little bit. Pretty good hockey team, so we're hoping that we can kind of put up a little bit better fight. I know the goalkeepers want to get at them there. They're pretty keen to get at some of these good teams who have beaten up on us a little bit. So we'll have some fun there.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure. Of course, ASTV will be in Pilot-Mound this weekend coming up. I won't be there, Gordie, but Cody and Glenn will be there, so that should be a lot of fun for them this weekend coming up in Pilot-Mound. But Gordie, as always, thanks for coming on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. And until next week when we do it all again, I'll catch you then, Gordie. You take care.
Thanks, Graeme. Appreciate it.
Gordie Tumilson joining this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba show on this Wednesday morning. Coming up after the commercial break, we're going to be doing this week's edition of the Solar Report. Lorena Mitchell, host of Evolution Greenworks, will be joining the show to give this week's report live. I'll be asking her some questions this time around on this week's report. So stick around. That's all coming up after this break, commercial break here on Manitoba Show, Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba, everybody. On this week's edition of the Solar Report, we're doing it live this time. Lorena Mitchell, host of Evolution Greenworks, joining the show here. Lorena, how are you doing on this Wednesday morning? Happy to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been wild. We've had COVID going on in the house, as you know.
Yeah.
So, but it was very nice to come back today and do the solar report. Of course, we talk about the weather, the sun, and everything happening in solar in Manitoba.
Yeah, and hopefully, you guys are doing a bit better around the house now. I assume things are going a bit better at this point.
Yeah, starting to get a little more energy back. It's been a little bit wacky. The whole team went down, unfortunately. But as with a lot of Manitobans suffering through Omicron right now, I feel I'm double vax. You still get sick sometimes.
Yeah. It's just the way it goes. Even if you are vaccinated, you still can get sick. You're not immune to the disease still.
You absolutely are not immune. So it kind of took us a little by surprise. It's really hard to shut down because, as you know, I'm the owner of Evolve Green. We had to shut down because it impacted the crew. So it was a little bit frustrating, but the team will be getting back to work next week. Everybody is starting to get healthy. So that's the good news.
Right.
So Gordie is not far off, though. When he's talking about 100 below, we were minus 30-something thousand yesterday. And then we're wild shifting into, we're supposed to be zero at some point today. That's pretty incredible. So, but we are actually supposed to be getting into more average temperatures for this time of year, running through the week. Tomorrow, it's going to be a little below average, so minus 17 for a high. But Friday, we're already going to be at minus 8, minus 12 for Saturday, which should be great for Pilot-Mound, right? So,
yeah, it's crazy this time of year. You get the minus 40 weather, sometimes minus 50 at some points this year, and then boom, you're back to 0 degrees Celsius, which is insane how the weather changes.
Oh yeah, totally insane. So how are you doing? The show is great here. I was listening.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Lorena. Yeah, the show is going well. Happy to be back here for another year doing the show here on Manitoba Show, Rise and Shine. But, you already talked about the weather on this edition of the Solar Report. Talk about, how the snow is impacting, just the solar industry at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely creating some difficulties. It's not the snow, though. It's really the extreme temperatures. It's very difficult, for companies to work through the year. And of course, Evolve Green does work through winter, but it is very challenging with some of these really incredibly low temperatures. Everything breaks when it's that cold. And I think most industries will agree that that's the case for anything outside, whether you be in construction or whatever, right? So it's been incredibly challenging this season as winter really set in because it was just so erratic.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
The cold for sure is there is that a cat or yeah, it's a cat, right? Behind you.
It is. Yeah, you know what? She only comes near me when I'm online, and if I sing, she comes right in my face. It's really funny. So I think I sound like a strangling cat. She comes to see what's wrong with me if I sing. So I won't sing for you.
Yeah, that's oh man. That's awesome that you have a cat, your cat coming on when you're doing these live things, right? But yeah, the cold for sure, yeah. Totally. Like I could see how that definitely affects, the way you guys operate, the way you guys do things. You
Absolutely.
know, talk about some of the biggest things happening right now in terms of solar here in the world, some other things other than how the cold
Yeah.
is affecting it.
Absolutely. Well, in the news, Clean Energy Canada is reporting that by 2050, solar is actually going to be the primary source of energy throughout the entire world.
Uh,
How is that solar going to look? We don't know, actually. There's quite a race on with technology and research and development into different ways to create energy. Now, although it's primarily solar, yes, I mean, as in coming from the sun, how the technology receiving it, translating it, and storing it and utilizing it is vastly different how the different researchers are approaching it. And I think the one that's really incredible is the solar paint and the coatings for windows that are coming out. It is the thought that in the future, basically your home is going to be the collector itself. So when you're done building your house, it spray paints on this stuff and then it all collects down into a battery system and you're basically going to be independent power. This is where they think you're going to be by 2050, basically, is the view of a lot of the scientists out there right now. Because energy is basically everywhere. And this is the concept of Tesla, not Elon Musk Tesla, but, actual Tesla. And he proved that out. We're actually not reinventing the wheel, we're actually trying to find it again. So a
Wow.
lot of that stuff did get buried. So that's pretty interesting. So check out Clean Energy News. They are the place to go to see what kind of the trends are happening in renewable energy and also where the policies are headed. I know there was a really interesting report that is going to be actually presented at Manitoba Sustainable Energy is going to be putting on an in-person, hopefully with Omicron and everything else permitting, government, all that stuff. April 6th, save the date in Portage La Prairie, Manitoba. They're going to be doing an in-person conference, guys. And Kurt Hall is going to be actually producing a paper that was very well researched by a lot of the top minds in Manitoba on renewable energy, and they were tasked or challenged with how do we by 2050, by 2030, get to fossil free. Especially when we're talking about, electric vehicles, we're talking about homes, we're talking about all these things, right? So actually, they produced a really well researched paper that they will be presenting at the conference. So I think it's going to be released in other places, and I'll keep you guys posted if it is. So I know it's gone through anybody who's involved with Sustainable Buildings Manitoba. It was also presented to the members there as well. Super exciting stuff because utilizing just everything that's on the table right now, like that, we're not talking about new tech or anything.
Yeah.
They're saying it is possible to be fossil free by 2050.
Wow,
Well,
that's exciting news. That's very exciting news, and yeah, pretty cool how scientists are thinking that the industry is gonna be going in that direction by 50. One more thing before I let you go here, Lorena. Your show, of course, Evolution Greenworks. I assume that there's a show coming out this week. Tell our viewers about.
There is. We're going to be talking with a few different people coming up over the next little bit. We're going to be talking to Efficiency Manitoba again, inviting them back because they've got some new funding out there for residential customers and business customers. So we want to give you the latest update to those. We're also going to be talking with Tygo. Tygo has been releasing, they are an optimizer. So if you have a string inverter, it optimizes the DC so as you make more energy. They have now released also rapid shutdowns so that if you have another type of inverter, you can utilize this for rapid shutdowns. We're going to be talking to them too. So it's going to be exciting. And this season, we're going to be focusing on some of that new technology coming down the pipe, which is going to be amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. A lot of great guests coming on the show this week on Evolution Greenworks. And where can the viewers view it again? That's on not here on ASTV, but a different network?
No, it is ASTV, actually. So it's MBNS is usually on the Facebook feed. Right. It's ASTV on our feeds for YouTube. And then, of course, you can always see it on Evolve Green. So the Evolve Green on YouTube. So you can get to it from many different places.
Well, that's awesome. Many places where viewers can tune in and listen and watch. Lorena, great to have you on this edition of the Solar Report. Doing it a bit different this week, of course, doing it live instead of pre-recorded. Until next week, once we see you again, whether we do it live or again or pre-recorded, you take care and continue to, feel better.
Thanks for having me, Graeme. Have a great day.
You too. Take care. And Lorena Mitchell on this edition of the Solar Report, joining the show, giving us some good updates on, solar, the weather, and some pretty cool stuff happening in the industry. Coming up after this commercial break, the main man himself, Seth Rach, coming on part 1 of part 2. The first part of 2 parts that we're doing today. As always, on Graeme's opinion, you won't want to miss it. It's going to be a good one. Stick around for more to find out what me and Seth are going to be talking about today on my segment where he joins along, Graeme's opinion, here on ASTV Productions.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba, everybody. Lorena Mitchell joined the show recently here on the Solar Report. Happy to have Lorena back, by the way, doing the Solar Report consistently again. I know that missed last week with Lorena, but yeah, great to know that she's feeling better, doing well after, having COVID. And yeah, hopefully the Evolve Green team is back to work very soon. But joining this edition of the show now on the first part of 2 in today's edition on Graeme's opinion is Seth Rach. Seth, how are you doing on this Wednesday morning, man? I see you got the Josh Morrissey jersey in the background fitting because we always talk about the Jets. But how you doing, man, on this Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Woke up pretty early and pretty excited to talk about the Jets again today.
Yeah, and speaking of the Jets, of course, that's the team we're going to be talking about now, as always, as we do here on Graham's Opinion. Me and you talking about it, Seth. The Jets on a 5-game losing streak right now. Since the last time that we talked, Seth, they played 4 games since. Kind of, strange seeing them play a lot of games again since, a lot of games were getting canceled due to them not being able to play home games. They were back at home yesterday, although the crowd, not the biggest amount of spectators there. I think it was about 250 people, but nice to see the Jets back on home ice nonetheless.
Yeah, it is excellent. That was a long road game. Long road trip for them, but it's nice to see them back and playing in Winnipeg.
Yeah, that had to be like one of the longest road trips ever, honestly.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Playing on the road, but yeah, talking about it, Seth. The last 5 games, of course, the loss to Washington, as we talked about last week on the show, they lost 4-3 in overtime in that game. But since then, they played on Thursday last week, lost 5-2 to Nashville. Then they played Saturday and Sunday. They played Saturday against the Boston Bruins, lost 3-2 in that one after being up, lost 3-2 in a shootout against the Pittsburgh Penguins after being up 2-0 in that game. And of course, in a pretty back and forth game yesterday, especially in the first period, losing 5-3 to the Florida Panthers. The Jets are now 17-15-7 on the season, 6th place in the Central. I believe they are 3 points back of tying Calgary for the last wild card spot in the West at this point. But just your thoughts on yesterday's game, Seth, and just this losing streak, how this Jets team has been looking as of late.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of unfortunate because I actually think the Jets have looked pretty good over the past few games. It's just unfortunate plays, and they lead to certain goals, and it's it's been a little bit unfortunate, but I think despite them losing, I think they've played pretty good. They've just been unable to come away with the win in some of the games.
Yeah, and they outplayed Nashville after that first period, right? Of course, letting up 3 goals in that first period, but UC Saros was just unbelievable in that game. Tristan Jarry made some great saves against the Jets against the when they played against Pittsburgh, and of course, yesterday a back and forth game, and I feel like a constant trend throughout these games, Seth, like you mentioned, is just defensive breakdowns. Turning over the puck at costly times, losing positioning on players, whether that be in front of the net or just, really leaving space open in the high quality scoring areas at times, and just getting caught out of position, really, that our players are. I mean, it's the little things that are happening, but they have been costing the Jets in these games, even though they've been generating good chances with their speed. I feel like in these games, they've been moving the puck well in the offensive zone, and the penalty kill. Like, they've killed off 12
the penalty kill's been great.
Power plays in the last 4 games. Closing space. I feel like Hellebuyck has been making the necessary saves needed, obviously, when teams have been getting chances. Of course, the Pasternak goal. I mean, Pasternak let an absolute bomb go. But, active 6 as well, I think, are things that are really helping the Jets on this PK right now, really closing off the space at times, playing a good gap on the PK, and also leading to good offensive chances as well on the PK at times.
Mm-hmm. The Jets have been pretty good on the PK. It's definitely way better than it was at the start of the year. But I wouldn't just blame the defense on some of these goals, especially the last 2 games. There were 2 turnovers by the man in net himself, Connor Hellebuyck, that probably should not have ended up in goals. But the guy has never really been too good at playing the puck, and those are 2 goals he'd definitely like to have back.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Hellebuyck, obviously you want your goaltender playing the puck. I mean, that's kind of where the game has gone to, right? You kind of want that from your goaltender. But Hellebuyck, like you said, Seth, hasn't been the greatest at doing that. But, I feel like it's been a mix of that, just bad breaks. And I obviously can't blame the defense for everything, but I feel like a lot of it has come down to just those defensive breakdowns, getting caught out of position in these games, in my opinion. But, going into more of the good that the Jets have been able to do, Like when we're talking about generating chances, it's just zone entries, generating chances with their speed, getting into the zone, transitioning fast out of their own end, getting in behind the team's defense and able to hit on those stretch passes. I think we've seen that happening more and more consistently as of late. I mean, you can put it up to just teams being caught a bit too far up ice on the team and not having the most support back. But the Jets doing a good job of recognizing that, I feel. But, you know, moving the puck while cycling, I feel like opening up passing lanes by cycling the puck with the quick attack in the offensive zone, moving the puck to open players, and a good net front presence as well, I feel like the Jets have had. But you know, at the end of the day, when you have defensive breakdowns, when you have, you know, things like Hellebuck coughing up the puck and not playing it to the best places, especially in that Pittsburgh game where he should have just stayed in the net, you know, all these good things that are happening in the offensive zone go out the door when you give up, you know, the scoring chances and just the bad breaks that the Jets have been having at the end of the day.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that one there, Graeme, and it's a bit unfortunate because that, especially that game against Pittsburgh, man. When I think about how bad the Jets' defense has been lately, I look to that game and wow, Pittsburgh should be happy. Some of those fans in Pittsburgh should be happy they came out with a win in that one. I can't even begin to count how many odd man rushes the Pittsburgh Penguins gave up in that game, especially on their PK, or on their power play. But yeah, just. You know, I'd almost say like it's some of these losses that we've had, like they've just been unfortunate circumstances that have led to the loss, because I thought the Jets have played pretty good in all facets. You know, their power play isn't teeing off like we'd want it to, but they're moving the puck well in the power play for the most part, and they're getting their opportunities on the power play. And it's, you know, it's for me when I look at this road trip or these past few games rather, it's more of man, we've kind of had an unfortunate few games rather than this team has been really bad.
Yeah, like I don't think the team has been bad overall. I just think that there's been times where there's been really bad mistakes happening, but overall the team has been playing, you know, solid hockey. And I think that it also comes down to, and it's been a trend all season long for the Jets, is just not being able to, you know, find a way to score more goals than the other team, and putting it into that, just the goaltenders being able to make these great saves. I mean, yesterday in that game against the Florida Panthers, Seth, like on the power play, they were generating so many chances, but just couldn't get one by Bobrovsky. I mean, you look at the game against Pittsburgh. I mean, you talk about the odd man rushes that the Jets had. Tristan Jarry was unbelievable in that game and has been unbelievable this season for the Pittsburgh Penguins, really having a bounce back year. And, you know, UC Saros, of course, in that Nashville game, like, you know,
unreal.
It's just, it seems like it's a trend more and more that the goaltenders seem to play their best hockey against this Winnipeg Jets team.
Yeah, and you know, I'm just happy that we haven't seen any Vejmelka-like games from other teams yet. These games have been a lot closer. We have been able to shoot teams, but it's nothing like how Vejmelka has played when he's come to Winnipeg.
Yeah, Vejmelka, man, like I don't understand why
that guy likes to play. He's a really good goalie.
He is, but like, why do you have to play your absolute best against the Winnipeg Jets?
I don't know. There's two games against the Jets where he's absolutely stole the show.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to get the last one against them, but that first one was just it's heartbreaking to see the amount of shots that the Jets put up and got shut out in that. That one goal. But you know, Cole Perfetti, like, he's been amazing, Seth. Like the playmaking ability from this guy, and I'm gonna call him a kid because he's a year younger than me. I mean, a year younger.
You have that distinction on saying there are a lot of players that are younger than you now that are playing in the NHL.
Which is just it's crazy, and it's you know, I know a lot of people say this you know, when they're talking sports and players that are playing younger than them or playing in the NHL, but like I'm sitting here talking about the Jets while Cole Perfetti is playing for the Jets, and then you know, he's a sensational talent in my opinion. His awareness to make the plays that he does, his ability to, go to the places to, create chances to make the best play, the playmaking ability. I mean, yesterday, his ability to hold that puck, act like he was going to toe drag it in and go out again and then pass.
Great move around, yeah.
A great move, just great creativity with the hands. And that's just the player that you're going to get from Cole Perfetti, a smart player who I feel like has, done a lot of good things, being positionally sound. I think that his playmaking ability has definitely been his best attribute. And he's also a guy that's shown he can rifle that puck as well.
Yeah, I've in the beginning of the season, or the first few games under Cole Perfetti's belt, I was one of the more harsher critics on him. I thought, I know he's young. It's gonna take him a while. It takes every player a while to get used to the NHL, and you got to expect that. And I was expecting that when I was watching him, and I just saw the first few games he just didn't really look like it was Cole Perfetti was Cole Perfetti, but as the games have gone on, he's starting to fit in more and more, and I gotta you gotta wonder if it's that line that he's been put on that's really helped and accelerated his NHL growth. Playing with Connor and Dubois, some of the better top six forwards in the league, you could say, and really kind of nurturing him into that top six role, and like you said, two really good assists yesterday, especially that one on the power play when he assisted Dubois, just able to fake the toe drag, like you said, and kind of just drag that puck around Radko Gudas, who kind of looked like he just lost his ankles on that play.
Yeah, and the creativity that he brings is, I feel, something that this Jets lineup definitely needs right now as well, especially with Nikolai Ehlers being out. He's on the long-term injury list with that knee injury, which I hate that.
Yeah, yep.
Just I almost dropped an F-bomb there. I held myself back just thinking about Dmitry Orlov, but
I don't know how, when a guy injures someone like that, I don't know how he should be suspended for as long as the player he hurt is out. I don't know why that's never been a thing.
That's an interesting. I like that, honestly. I think that's an interesting way to look at it for sure, because that
Especially,
was we talked about it too last week, right? Like, it was such a blatant knee on knee, and
there was no effort to he stuck out his knee on purpose, and it's just not good.
And like I said last week, I don't know if Dmitry Orlov has a history of doing things like that, but for sure that was just such a dirty knee on knee. But we'll get away from that because we already talked about it. But Cole Perfetti, playing with the guys that I feel like are suited for him to grow best in this game. I mean, you play with the guy that is in Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's a good two-way power forward, a sniper like Kyle Connor. I just feel like Cole Perfetti, such a smart mind out there as well. I feel like with the time that he's having this year is just so great for his development, playing with those guys, getting an opportunity where I think he honestly I was confident for him to play in the top six when he got in the lineup, for him to get these effective minutes, because he will be a top six player for the rest of his career, in my opinion, no doubt about it. I think he can book that and put that in stone. But I think that to see Cole Perfetti, what he's doing this season, is just so nice, and to see why the Jets drafted him where they did.
And I can't agree with you more. He's been excellent, and the creativity that he's shown, and even in some of the plays he's made where it hasn't resulted in goals. I think it was a few weeks back. I forget the team they were playing, but I think it was in the Detroit game where we won 3-0. Just a nice tic-tac-toe play where Dubois almost got one, and it was a beautiful pass, a tap pass by Perfetti. But I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets eventually do send him down again, because I know that they want to get as much value out of that entry-level contract as they possibly can, which I kind of do respect. But if he keeps playing the way he's playing, I don't know how they will send him down.
Yeah, I think it would be crazy to send him down, because it's not like he is looked like he more belongs out there than he looks out of place, right? Like, if he was looking out of place, if he was struggling, I could see them sending him down, but I think it would be crazy to send him down right now. And I think that he's become a a good part of this offensive attack that the Jets are having right now, fitting nicely on that line with Connor and Dubois. And speaking of forwards, Blake Wheeler's back. He's got a goal and an assist. Those came against the Pittsburgh Penguins. He returned against the Boston Bruins. And, Blake Wheeler, I haven't been really able to watch much of the Jets. I watched the Nashville game, but I didn't really get to watch. Well, I watched the Boston game as well. But Blake, for being back, coming back from the knee injury he did, I will say that he's looked, solid in these games.
Yeah, I'd actually say more than solid. I think he's been one of the best players in the past 3 games. I feel it's unfortunate for him, because he comes back and the Jets, they dropped the few games where he is in the lineup, but especially in that first game he was back, he didn't get a point, or he may have. I haven't really watched too much of the Jets lately either. I watched a bit of the Penguins game, and I tried to watch some of the game last night, but couldn't catch all of it. But yeah, he definitely in that first game he was back. He had a lot of pep in his step, and you could tell he really wanted to come away with the victory in that game. And he looked like he was like old Blake Wheeler. He was flying up and down the ice. He was just really motivated and energized. And for a older guy that just got a knee injury, it's been surprising how well his speed has, been able to stay. Obviously he's not the fastest guy out there anymore, but he's been pretty fast player, and it's been very surprising for me, especially lately because of the knee injury he just came off of.
Yeah, I think probably one of the best parts of his game since he's been back is just his ability to gain position on the opposing players in terms of whether it's down low or on the half wall, being able to make quick passes. I think that is what Blake Wheeler's game is at in this point, is just doing the little things right to make him more effective, because like we've said so many times, he's not the fastest player anymore. Like, obviously, like, he's not the same Blake Wheeler as he once was, but if he's able to do those little things right, I feel like he'll be a more effective version of himself than if he's trying to do, the things that he's, used to doing in his career before that maybe he can't do anymore, right? But talking about the injury list right now, like I mentioned Nikolai Ehlers' long-term injury list. He's on there. David Gustafsson as well is on the LTIR, but he hasn't really gotten a chance with the Jets, really. So he hasn't been a regular at the Jets.
Yeah, David Gustafsson's had a rough time with the Jets so far this season. I feel bad because I've really wanted to see him in the lineup now.
And, you'd like to see him in the lineup because, like, he could fit in that bottom 6, I feel like, as that centerman, the way
I feel like he could be a replacement to Kopp. Like, just seeing him play in the AHL. Now, I know the AHL is not even close to as good as the NHL, but, he has shown offensive upside and some pretty good skill in his game, too. So, and he's that smart player. And I remember listening to a lot of the, conference meeting or media availabilities during the preseason. And I remember Paul Maurice saying, like, how much David Gustafsson resembles Andrew Kopp, and, with his brains and just the way he plays. He's just he told the media, I think he seemed like he was just a taller, bigger Andrew Kopp. Like, he had the makings of an Andrew Kopp eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love for that to happen. I honestly haven't seen too much of David Gustafsson play, but I've heard a lot of good things about him. Like his smarts, like you said, Seth, would be awesome if he would be able to fill that role. Once if he ever gets into the lineup, if he can ever stay healthy. Dylan DeMello also on the injury list right now with a lower body injury, just says he's on the IR, as well as Logan Stanley, both having lower body injuries. And on COVID protocol right now, Josh Morrissey and Dominic Toninato. And yeah, going to be interesting to see how the Jets are going to continue to manage their lineup, use their lineup with these guys out. But talking about Ville Heinola, he played in the NHL finally yesterday. It was crazy to see.
Well, to be honest, I didn't even know he was playing in yesterday, so that's kind of that's news to me. I was wondering when they were going to play Ville, because he's been up on the team so long and he hasn't been playing any games, and it's just I didn't know why they had him up on the team if they were just going to keep him sitting. But yeah, now he finally gets in a game, and that's good for him. I didn't notice much at all of him because I didn't even know he was in the game yesterday.
Yeah, and like he only had 10 minutes and 42 seconds of ice time, and he was paired with Nathan Beaulieu. I wasn't the biggest fan of that. In fact, that pairing struggled quite a bit. But once Villahanola, I feel like, obviously not having his strongest game, but it is his first game of the season in the NHL. He hasn't gotten much NHL time. He's a guy that, is good with his stick. Even though he took a penalty yesterday, it was a good penalty, right? If he didn't take that penalty, it would have been a potential goal for the Florida Panthers. But Villanola, as the game went along, I feel like got more comfortable out there, was making some better passes. I feel like he still needs to get more comfortable in the league in terms of, having a bit more patience and, holding the puck a bit more before throwing it away. At times that he was. Obviously, the positioning has to just improve a bit. I mean, it does have to improve, but I feel like that's going to come with time. I don't think anyone can really judge, the potential, the ceiling that Hanola has in this league based off of one game. But I'm so excited he finally got a chance because I've been waiting for him to get a chance, as you know, Seth.
Yeah. And, with Ville Heinola, I was always on the same boat as you. I want to see him play, but I think, with Ville Heinola, I think it's going to be a few more years until he's fully ready to play NHL minutes because as of right now, if we have a healthy lineup, I don't think he fits in on our defense at all, which is unfortunate for him. But, like with these injuries, he's going to get his chances. And who knows, maybe in the next few years, he will be ready and will be able to take that next step. Because like you said, there are still parts of his game that I've noticed he really needs to work on, especially his transition game. He really needs to, work on that. And I think if he can get that down, he'll have a better chance at making the NHL team next year.
Yeah, and he's been amazing in the AHL this season. He's played pro for many years, obviously, it not being in the NHL. I feel like the next step is getting him NHL minutes, of course, but of course, as it's been shown, it doesn't really seem like he fits in this lineup with a fully loaded Jets team when they got all their guys back. But I feel like this is going to be a good opportunity for him. Obviously you'd like to see him get a bit more playing time out there, more than 10 minutes and 42 seconds. But, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to handle the situation moving years.
I got a question. Was he playing power play at all yesterday? I would think he would if Josh Morrissey was out.
See, I'm going to be honest. I tried watching the third period of this game. I didn't really see him on the power play.
Oh yeah.
But I actually fell asleep because and then I wake up. It was 4-3 when I passed out, and then I wake up and it's 5-3 and I'm like,
game over.
Yeah. I'd say that's probably it for the Jets today. Hey, I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, there's not, and I think you're right, and they haven't really done too much lately. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, and I believe they are playing next against the Vancouver Canucks, Bruce Boudreau's squad. So that should be an interesting game. But yeah, the Jets. I'll say this: need to start finding a way to win these close games because they're able to stay in these games with these really good teams. But if you're unable to win them, I mean, those are points that you're not gaining, right? I mean, credit like they got a point against the Washington Capitals and a point against the Pittsburgh Penguins when they should have had to. It is what it is. It's in the past now. Looking on into the future, staying optimistic, of course, as we always do, Seth. But
who knows? Maybe we get the first overall pick this year.
I mean, that'd be amazing. I like the first overall pick more so next year.
That's what I was saying to my dad yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, Connor Bedard is wow.
He's probably going to go to Edmonton though. So both Shane Wright and him will probably go to Edmonton because that's the way the NHL likes to do the draft lottery.
Yeah. We'll pick Edmonton first overall again this year.
They'll still be bad even after they get those two.
It's not like they haven't had enough first overall picks, right?
So, no.
But Chris Kreider, man, the new goal leader in the league. He's got 30 on the season, a career high in goals at this point. He's a point per game player as of right now, getting the most ice time in his career so far. I think just over 18 minutes. Chris Kreider, this is a surprise for me for him
Yeah.
to be leading the league in goals right now. But you look at how he's been doing it this season. He dominates the front of the net. Such a good net presence into getting tips, getting rebounds, and he's fast and he can rip that puck off the rush. Let me tell you, man. Just watching his highlights today. Yeah, I mean, Chris Kreider, I don't know if he's going to be the goal leader at the end of the season. I think Alexander Ovechkin will have something to say about that.
Yeah.
But, definitely one of the biggest surprises in this year. If not, you can make the argument it's the biggest surprise just based off of him already hitting his career mark in goals, hitting 30 already.
Yeah, already is right, man. The guy is having a career season to say the least. I've always knew Chris Kreider was a pretty good player, but this year he's gone from pretty good to top winger in the league, and like you said, excellent release. Off the rush, has an excellent shot off the rush, and he's one of those premier power forwards in the league. And with most power forwards, you don't expect the speed, but from Chris Kreider, you can expect speed in his game.
Yeah, and he's always been fast. He's always been I won't say the word, but the word before and then disturber. He's a very
goalie killer,
in your face. Yeah, goalie killer. Rest in peace, Carey Price's playoff run that one season. But yeah, Chris Kreider. Yeah, we always known he's been fast. Always known he's been a guy that gets underneath teams' skin.
I don't know how he isn't that team's captain yet.
This season, 30 goals already. The way he's doing it, it's been phenomenal for what he's been able to do with the New York Rangers. Of course, my cousin Matt Lauren has him in his NHL playoff pool. I'm now an NHL playoff pool, fantasy regular season pools.
Mm-hmm.
So,
although if you are doing a playoff pool, I wouldn't be surprised if you chose the Rangers.
Oh yeah. They're looking good this year, man.
They were actually at the start of the year. They were my pick to go to the final.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember on one of the car rides home from one of our games, you were saying that. This New York Rangers team, I mean, this team's going to keep growing and growing, right? And the playoff experience they're going to get this year is going to be vital. We'll get into the New York Rangers and all the other teams who are going to make the playoffs later on in the year, making our picks for who we think is going to win the Stanley Cup. Of course, that will be coming up later on this year on Graham's opinion. I think me and Seth, I think it's only fair that we do a playoff bracket at that point, right, Seth?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It'd be a lot of fun. And, we talked about Chris Kreider, but, who's another player who's been very impressive, and especially as of late, is Timo Meier for the San Jose.
Oh, yeah.
Those 5 goals he scored in one game, I hate him for that because I played against him in fantasy hockey last week. So that sucked for me. But I'm pretty sure that was a record, right? Him scoring 5 goals. That was a franchise record in one game.
I think so. Yeah, I think it was a franchise record for the Sharks. But yeah, Timo Meier, he's always been that player that was like, is he going to be a superstar in the league, or is he going to be, just that top 6 player, who had the potential but didn't quite realize it? And I think now he's finally realizing his potential.
He's on pace for a career high in points. The most points he's ever had in his career was 66 points back in 2018-19, that season, in 78 games. He's already got 47 points in 37 games, 46 points, in the games that he's played. But he's tied 11th in the league in points right now, just outside of that top 10. And Timo Meier, I mean, he's got a heck of a shot too. I mean, just looking at the highlights this season from him, just his ability to release that puck has been one of the biggest things. The accuracy he has on it too, and it's resulted in good things for him this season. And obviously him being able to score 5 goals in one game as a result of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously Winnipeg Jets legend Patrick Laine did that in the past, but back when days were happier, you were happy when you were a Jets fan, but you can't say that now. But Timo Meier, excellent, and I've always been a very big fan of him, and I wanted to see him, become a become that guy that you always saw glimpses of, and now he is finally becoming that guy for the Sharks, and he is somewhat keeping the Sharks relevant. I thought the Sharks were going to easily be one of the worst teams in their division this year, but they're actually, they're fighting and they're staying in games, and it's been very impressive, and he's been a big reason for that.
Yeah, and taking a look at the Sharks, I mean, they're actually tied with the Calgary Flames right now in terms of points, even though they got 5 more games played than them. But yeah, San Jose has definitely been one of the surprises for me this season too, just in terms of, didn't expect them to be at this position. Obviously, like they got a player like Timo Meier, Logan Couture, but you look at it, this team isn't as talented as some of the other teams as you might have thought would be in that playoff conversation in terms of pushing for a playoff spot. And to see Timo Meier doing this, putting the team on his back this season, as we've seen, Seth, especially in that game where he scored 5, it's definitely nice to see for Sharks fans seeing what he's been able to do this season.
He's trying to get his buddy Thomas Hertl to stay in San Jose.
Yeah. That'll be interesting. We'll talk about the trade deadline coming up at some point this year as well. But Keith Yandle, the new Iron Man in the NHL, most games played in NHL history. Congrats to Keith Yandle. That's what I'm going to say. I haven't been able to watch Keith Yandle in a very long time, I'll be honest. Obviously, getting up there in age, but anytime you're able to be that guy who's played the most games in NHL history, it's it's definitely special to see.
Yeah, and with Keith Yandle, yeah, he is getting older, but he's that guy you can get at the deadline, use him as a power play quarterback if you need help on that power play. He's one of those guys that moves the puck so well on the power play, and like I said, is that quarterback and one of the best in the league at doing so, I think, at least.
Yeah, I can't really judge. I haven't been able to watch Keith Yandle play in a long time, but I know he's been a very good defenseman throughout his career, even though he is getting up there in age. But, speaking of someone, that I felt like this was unexpected. I was watching this game with my dad for a while, the Pittsburgh Penguins and Arizona game. Brian Boyle scoring between the legs. You absolutely love to see it, Brian Boyle, with all that he's been through, and to see him do that, a highlight reel goal.
A 38-year-old legend.
Yeah, something you don't really expect out of Brian Boyle. I haven't really seen that from him ever.
Brian Boyle, always a guy you just stick on the penalty kill and you rely on him to do all the work from there. But he's been one of those guys that, you love to have in the locker room. I think most guys, whenever, they always speak very highly of him whenever he's been through their organization. And just to see him because he didn't play at all last year, and to see him get that chance this year, with the Penguins again, it's been awesome. And then for him to score a goal like that, it's been even better.
Yeah, it was big time. He, had the chance to do that with the space he was given, able to go between the legs and, channeling his inner Matthew Tkachuk on that play, as Tkachuk has been doing that pretty consistently throughout his career at this point, going between the legs, which is, pretty crazy, someone doing it consistently, as we haven't seen that very much in the NHL.
No, yeah, and Matthew Tkachuk loves to go between his legs. No one else does. It seems that whenever there's a between the legs goal, it's always Matthew Tkachuk, oftentimes it's always Matthew Tkachuk. But still crazy to me that Brian Boyle was able to score a goal like that.
Yeah, for sure, Seth. I'm right there with you. Like, just so nice to see him be able to score a goal like that, and nice to see him on a team like Pittsburgh, who I feel like is going to be a playoff team this season once playoffs hit. But moving into the Team Canada men's Olympic roster, I'm trying to find the roster here. It was released yesterday. Some pretty interesting names on this roster, of course, with NHL players not being able to go. But we got some former NHL players on this team, most notably a guy like Eric Stahl, Daniel Winnick on the team as well. Some young guys on the team as well, Seth, like Mason McTavish and Owen Power. But taking a look at it, here's the full roster. So Daniel Carr, Carbon Knight, Ben Street, Jack McBain, Eric Stahl, Adam Tambellini, Eric Odell, Daniel Winnick, Adam Cracknell, Mason McTavish, as mentioned, London Ferraro, David DeHarnay, Jordan Wheel, Josh Hosang, are the forwards. And then you look at defense, Brandon Carmley, Matt Robinson, Alex Grant, I think that's who he is. The letter to start off his last name is a bit weird, but Mark Barbario, Seth. As I was reading there, I lost track. I think he had a problem with his. He had a problem with your connection there, Seth.
No, my little sister tried to call me while we were on air, so I had to deal with that. But I think we're good now.
Yeah. So you got Owen Power as well, Maxim Noro, Tyler Witherspoon, and Jason Demers, and then goaltenders are Devin Levi, Edward Pascal, and Matt Tompkins.
Well, that guy used to play for the Winnipeg Jets in the minor leagues.
Damn, that's crazy. Just an interesting roster, Seth. I'm not going to go too much in depth into it because I haven't done too much research into determining how good this Canadian roster is. But I will say one thing: it is nice to see a guy like Mason McTavish there, as well as Owen Power. I'm not going to lie, I know he's only 16 years old, but he's proven that he can play against men, although be it like he'd be playing against even older men. But I think they should have given Connor Bedard
I don't know about that. I don't think he should be playing with adults.
I don't know, because you take a look at what Connor Bedard, although he's only played against the highest age group he's played against is 21-year-olds, but he's proven he can be an effective player in the WHL, more than an effective player. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't want to rely on him on this team for all your scoring, but why not give him a chance? You don't even have to dress him every game, but just with the type of talent that Connor Bedard has, I feel like this could have been a unique opportunity for a player like that to get a shot on the roster. And, he's a guy that's made history in many places that he's gone and played in. But I definitely do understand that with the age being taking that into consideration. But I would have also liked to see, some more young guys on this team. Obviously, I know you want to get some good bets on this team. Of course, a guy like Eric Stahl, you look at the other guys that were picked on this team as well. But overall, pretty interesting roster for this Team Canada team heading into the 2022 Olympics. And I think we did lose Seth here. Huh. That's strange. Just going to text the big man here and see what is going on. But yeah, folks, if you enjoy this edition of Graham's Opinion, if you're enjoying it so far, be sure to leave a like, a reaction wherever you guys are watching. Any feedback is good feedback. So if you guys want to comment, if you agree or disagree with the takes me and Seth have been given today, be sure to do that, down below in the comments section. Just going to text him here, and we'll see if we can get him back on. Sorry, folks, I'm just texting him here. Apparently his Wi-Fi is not great right now. Yeah, so I think what we're going to do next week is I'm going to do a bit more research into this Canadian team roster. Obviously, a lot of familiar names that some ex-NHLers on this team playing for Team Canada. Going to be a lot of fun to go into depth next week. Me and Seth will be in terms of talking about can this Team Canada team win gold without NHL players currently playing in the league able to play in the tournament this year? But going to take a commercial break here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. I'll be back for part 2 of this edition of Graeme's Opinion here after the commercial break. Stick around on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions, everybody.
Hello, my name is Lorena Mitchell, owner of Evolve Green. And here at Evolve Green, we take the environment very seriously. We have a 10 kilowatt solar system that offsets our main facility by 75%, as well as maintaining natural prairie on our grounds. Our mission, creating renewables that work for you. I started Evolve Green in 2008 with a passion for the environment and wanting to change my corner of the world. And that remains the same today. Through design, consult, and installation, we provide renewable energy systems and storage integration. Here at Evolve Green, we help Canadians rethink power and storage to help fortify our children's future. To learn more, visit evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba, everybody. Of course, Seth Rach joined the first part of Graeme's Opinion this week. My apologies. For some reason, every time I do Graeme's Opinion, I might do a rant on this coming up in the future, but my nose always gets itchy, folks. So just 1 second, I'll be right back. I gotta get a Kleenex. We'll get this part 2 rolling in just a moment here of this week's segment. So, special thanks to Seth, as always, for coming on the show today and talking some NHL Jets hockey with me. I'm talking about their Twitter handle, the Winnipeg Jets, talking Winnipeg Jets, as always, and as well as talking about other news from the NHL and, some big storylines this year, like Chris Kreider having the season that he's having this year. Chris Kreider having the season he's having, scoring 30 goals at this point, leading the league in goals at this point, as well as talking about Timo Meier, the season that he's having a breakout year to say the least, and also talking about, Keith Yandle playing the most games in NHL history out of any player, and also talking about the Brian Boyle goal and the Team Canada men's Olympic roster. Of course, me and Seth will be going into depth in terms of, do we think that team can win gold next week on the show? So stay tuned for that. But yeah, this is part 2 of this week's edition of Graeme's Opinion now. Talking about the NFL, and a lot of news has gone down in the NFL about different storylines, about players' futures. And, of course, Sean Payton retiring from coaching, stepping down as coach of the New Orleans Saints. I heard that he said that he could consider coming back and coaching again. I feel like he would do that if the situation presents himself. I know Cowboys fans would love to have Sean Payton instead of Mike McCarthy. I mean, if I was a Cowboys fan or any fan, I'd rather have anyone over Mike McCarthy, to be honest. I mean, the guy wasn't even calling any offensive plays for the team. You can make the argument that he's kind of Jerry Jones' puppet. I know that's ESPN take. I know on First Take they said all the time, but honestly, kind of agree with that take, as Jerry Jones, doesn't pick the best coaches. The whole Jimmy Johnson thing, that's a topic for another day if you guys want me to ever talk about that. But going to be talking about more so NFL news next week coming up, as there will be a week off for the teams that make it to the Super Bowl, as there always is, and it'll be Pro Bowl week next week, but probably won't talk about that. But yeah, going to talk about the past divisional games in the NFL Divisional Round Weekend. I'm just going to get a charger for my phone here. and then we can get started, folks. Yeah, Divisional Round Weekend in the NFL. Wow. What a weekend it was. I mean, every game was down to the wire. Every game was just a great game. You know, starting off with the Cincinnati Bengals defeating the Tennessee Titans. Got that game right, even though I didn't give an opinion. Well, I did give an opinion on why I felt like they'd win. And honestly, I'll go back to it. I'm not sure if I said it quite in depth. I mean, yes, this Tennessee Titans team got Derrick Henry back. Yes, they did have AJ Brown, who made an unbelievable catch, but you know, talking about QBs, you know, even though Joe Burrow was sacked, the number of times he was, and they need to figure that out for this week going against the Kansas City Chiefs. Can't be allowing sacks like that again. But when it comes down to it, I don't think Ryan Tannehill is that guy to take a Titans team over the top. As much talent as this team has, as good as their coaching is. I mean, it pains for me to say this, but the Titans were very impressive this year, and they've been a playoff team for the past 3 seasons, having the best running back in the league. With me being a Colts fan, that hurts to say, but I will always stand by this. Ryan Tannehill is not that guy. And I think he proved that in that game, throwing 3 interceptions and costing his team the victory. McPherson, the rookie kicker for the Bengals, absolute money, best kicker left in the playoffs at this point, in my opinion. I think a lot of people would agree with that. But yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC Championship game, definitely the most surprising team of the year, with a bright future with Joe Burrow and the crew, Jamar Chase, right? So going into the Green Bay Packers and San Francisco 49ers game, now takes were sloppy for that game. And that's why I ended it, because I wasn't honestly in the right mindset to be giving takes last week about those games. But looking back at it going in, like, you had to think that before this playoff run started, this had to be the year that the Green Bay Packers had to make it to the Super Bowl, because the future of this team is very well in question in terms of, will Aaron Rodgers stay? Will Davante Adams stay? Will they able to re-sign these guys? But, you know, they were fully loaded. You could make the argument, and I think it was true, that this was the most complete team in the league, but they played a San Francisco 49ers team who really came on at the end of the season, strong push to be able to make the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers 0-3 against them in his playoff career, and I think that the most interesting thing about this game was 0 touchdowns from an MVP candidate in Aaron Rodgers, when this was, you know, one of the last chances he had with Green Bay to be able to get to a Super Bowl and win one. He's only got 1 in his career, but to be fair, you know, maybe he'll be back, but that team could be looking very differently. They could be, you know, restocking on talent, you know, not as strong as a team. I think these last 2 seasons were the 2 years that Aaron Rodgers has had the best chance in a while to win a Super Bowl. And obviously, like, the special teams hasn't been great for the Packers this season. Obviously, they got that punt blocked in, you know, their own end of the field near their own goal line for the San Francisco 49ers to be able to tie that game. But, you know, at the end of the day, of course, Mason Crosby had a field goal blocked earlier on in that game, but at the end of the day, like, obviously the special teams wasn't great, but this defense really held this team to 6 points, if you really think about it, even though the score ended up being 13-10 final for the San Francisco 49ers. But when you're Aaron Rodgers, when you're a quarterback who is held to as high of a standards as he is, a quarterback that people have even called the greatest of all time, which is just nuts. And I don't think you can ever say that again. TB12 is the GOAT at this point, no question. I think that whole discussion ended after he, honestly, you can make that argument that that discussion ended when he won against Seattle. And I think it was cemented when he was able to be a huge part and lead his team in a comeback 28-3 down. But Aaron Rodgers not being able to get done in this game, forcing passes to Davante Adams. Like, yes, this team doesn't have the most elite weapons outside of Davante Adams, but as a potential league MVP, the reigning league MVP, a guy who's had a fantastic season, score 0 touchdowns is very underwhelming in a playoff game, especially playing at home when this was your year. I think that the loss falls on Aaron Rodgers at the end of the day on that offense, because they weren't able to get it done. Only scoring 10 points and scoring that touchdown on your first drive is not going to cut it. Sure, they had opportunities that obviously their special teams wasn't able to capitalize on, with the field goals, of course, getting blocked. But I think that's also a credit to the way San Francisco played the game. I think it's also a credit to how San Francisco came into this game more prepared at times to do those little things, right? Like win on the special teams. So yeah, I got that one wrong. I had Green Bay going to the NFC Championship game. I had them losing in that game to this next team I'm going to talk about, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the LA Rams game. I'm going to be honest, folks. I'll tell you guys about my bracket. I won't show it to you guys because I honestly just wrote it down on notes, and I feel like it's just easier to tell you. But my NFC Championship game matchup was the Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I had the Kansas City Chiefs and Tennessee Titans in the AFC Championship game, the Buccaneers and the Packers in the NFC Championship game, the Chiefs and Titans in the AFC. But if I picked the Bengals to beat the Raiders, which I think that was stupid looking back on it, because I did think that the Bengals were the better team. I was just kind of picking a huge upset in that one, honestly, with the Raiders. Even though the Raiders, you can make the argument that that wasn't the biggest upset over them, that the Bengals, that they could have pulled off against the Bengals. But I changed up my bracket, honestly, last week in terms of didn't change up my bracket, but changed up the pick from what I originally had in the bracket. I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to the Super Bowl and going to the NFC Championship game. So I got those picks wrong. And, looking at this game, like they were down early, and this is a LA Rams team that dominated them early on in the season when they first played. And, you look at this game, TB12, I mean, obviously his defense was able to get it done and gift him the turnovers for them to be able to come back in this game. And the Rams almost fell apart. But at the end of the day, like, football is a team sport. And TB12 being able to capitalize on those opportunities throughout the game, be a part of leading the team back on the comeback, is just remarkable to see again. At the end of that game, the LA Rams, Matt Stafford made an unbelievable throw to Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp with an unbelievable catch. I don't get why they only had a safety on Cooper Kupp, who has been the most productive receiver in the league and has had one of the greatest receiving seasons of all time out of any receiver. For Todd Bowles to call what he did there, leaving him only one-on-one with the safety, is absolutely crazy. You absolutely have to double a guy like Cooper Kupp at all times. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers falling short in that game, and the LA Rams, I mean, this is a team that was suited to beat a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that was undermanned. Like, obviously, Tampa Bay wasn't at full strength, but I don't think that's, that is an excuse at the end of the day. But I think when you have Tom Brady, anything is possible. And I was banking on that for Tom Brady to, be able to do what he did after the season. He's having potential MVP this season. He's going to be an MVP candidate. But, they almost did their thing. They almost came back again. But this LA Rams team, obviously one of the most talented defenses in the league. Matthew Stafford coming in. I know that I said that, I did trust him over Kyler Murray in that game. And honestly, I think Matt Stafford is one heck of a quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league for sure, a top 10 quarterback in the league. But going against this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, this was Matt Stafford's biggest game of his career so far, and he absolutely thrived. This was the moment where, okay, was Matt Stafford going to show up and play to the potential that I thought he could? Or was Matt Stafford going to falter under the pressure? I mean, up 27-3. Obviously, the team almost lost that game. But that throw to Cooper Kupp could be a career-defining moment for Matthew Stafford. And I mean, I think that the Rams are set up very well to potentially go to the Super Bowl this season, playing at home in LA. But yeah, Matthew Stafford, I mean, so many doubters. I can't believe how many doubters he actually had because of the situation. He played in Detroit. an absolute dumpster fire of a franchise. He finally got a shot to be surrounded by amazing talent, one of the best and brightest coaches in the league. You can make the argument that he's the best offensive-minded coach in the league, but I think Andy Reid might hold that title at this point. But it will be exciting to see those two go at it in the Super Bowl, but as a head coaching matchup. But yeah, Matthew Stafford proved all the doubters wrong in this game, that he could win big games. He did his thing in the wild card weekend, and the turnovers that have gone out the window for Matt Stafford. Like, he hasn't, I believe he didn't turn the ball over in that game. So just looking back at it here for Matthew Stafford. Yeah, no turnovers in this game, like 28 for 38 on the day in terms of completions on attempts, and 366 yards, 2 TDs. Cooper Kupp was sensational in this game as well. Of course, 9 receptions for 183 yards and a TD. But going back to that point, you look at the talent that Matt Stafford is surrounded by. LA, I feel like we're just a quarterback away from being able to make a run like they've been making so far. Being able to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I feel like, is huge for them, and they silenced a lot of critics, a lot of doubters. But it's going to be a tough matchup coming up against the San Francisco 49ers. Going to be interesting to see the all NFC West, NFC Championship game coming up this year. But let's get into the final game of Divisional Round Weekend. And oh my goodness, these two quarterbacks playing in this game, these two teams playing in this game was absolutely electrifying. Honestly, one of the best games of all time that was played in the NFL, and one of the best playoff games ever between the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills. This is a very back and forth game. 25 points scored in the last 2 minutes of this game. And I went to Boston Pizza with my sister, Jessica. That night, the game was happening on Sunday. Missed the first half because I was coming back. Was on the road with the fam, coming back from the hockey game that we broadcasted at Access Event Center in Morton. So I missed the first half of this game, and it was tied after that. And it was very back and forth. It was a heavyweight bout between two of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, two top 5 quarterbacks for sure, and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And this was the game that I think Josh Allen silenced all his doubters. I don't think he really had many in this game, honestly. But for guys like Nick Wright, who I think is an absolute joke, that's the one guy I'm talking about in terms of the doubter, because he doesn't really give the opposition the Chiefs are playing credit. But Josh Allen in this game was absolutely phenomenal, sensational. The throws he was making, his ability to evade the pass rush, his ability to extend plays with his legs, and finding his favorite target in that game in Gabriel Davis, who had over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then you look at what the Chiefs were able to do, punching back in that game with all the talent they have. And in my opinion, yes, the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes. But I'm sitting there in Boston Pizza with my sister. The game is on. The Kansas City Chiefs scored a go up in this game. I believe they went up 33-29 at that point. 33-29 at that point, I believe they did. Let's take a look. Remember, I'm forgetting off the top of my head. Sorry, folks. So anyways, the Chiefs go up in this game. I can't remember the score quite off the top of my head, but they go up this game, and, with Tyreek Hill giving the peace sign, which was absolutely disrespectful to the other team, but I absolutely love it. I love when players do stuff like that, like Tyreek Hill did. But they go up with 1 minute and 2 seconds left, and I thought, oh my goodness, this Chiefs defense has not been able to stop Josh Allen all night. 1 minute and 2 seconds is too long of time to give him. And what does Josh Allen do? He does exactly what I was thinking. He went down with that offense, and they scored. And with 13 seconds left, they were up by 3. And, people in the restaurant were like, it's over. And I was thinking, like, yeah, 13 seconds, not the most amount of time, but you got the best quarterback in the league, a guy that's done things like this before. Of course, not with this amount of time left, but 13 seconds left. Patrick Mahomes able to lead a drive down the field. Now, give credit, he has some of the best players in the league at the skill position, and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, but just that ability for this Chiefs team to go down, for Patrick Mahomes to lead that drive down the field, for this team to get into field goal range and tie this game up. It came down to a coin toss. Whoever won the coin toss was going to win this game, and the Chiefs did in OT. Of course, 36-36 tied going into OT, and then Patrick Mahomes leads another drive down the field, hits Travis Kelce in the end zone with a walk-off touchdown. And I mean, this is one of the most entertaining games I've ever watched in my entire life, at least the ending to it. I mean, 25 points scored in the last 2 minutes. I feel for Bills fans. I feel for my girlfriend's father, Grant. Happy birthday to him, by the way. It's his birthday today. He's a huge Bills fan, and all the heartbreak that he's been through in his life with this Bills team, this one definitely has to be one of the most heartbreaking losses that they've had in a very long time. But what it came down to was just, Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense being able to figure out the number one defense in the league in the Buffalo Bills. And I get it. Like, those guys are really open for the Chiefs at times, but Patrick Mahomes a lot of times is extending plays and being able to buy time, and these guys able to get open for him when he does that. And I think a huge part of that reason for them to get open is him extending plays with his legs in the pocket. I mean, this guy wasn't only sensational passing the ball, he also ran the ball too at a high level. I think he had like 70 yards or something like that, and also scored the first TD for the Chiefs of this game. But yeah, it came down to Patrick Mahomes cementing himself once again, reminding people who he is, the best quarterback in this league. Sure, he has Tyreek Hill. Sure, he has Travis Kelce, but someone has to throw them the ball, even if they are open at times, even if, wide open, then more wide open than you'd want them to be if you're the opposing team. But, I can't believe he did it again, but I also can believe he did it again because it's Patrick Mahomes, and I will ride and die with this, that he is not only the best quarterback in the league right now, and I know this is a hot take, but I think he's the most talented quarterback we've seen at the position ever. Yes, Aaron Rodgers is a more consistent player, I guess you can say, with the type of throws that he makes. Maybe his throws look a bit prettier, but Patrick Mahomes, the things he's been able to do, the arm angles that he throws at, what he's done throughout his career is just insane. I know people have done it before. I know this isn't the first time we're seeing this stuff from a guy like Patrick Mahomes. I mean, guys have done what he's done in the past, but for him to be able to do this, for him to get back to the AFC Championship for the fourth consecutive time, one of the best starts of any player, maybe the best start. I think it is the best start of any player in any NFL history. The start he's had out of any QB, but I think that Patrick Mahomes is that good. I think he's the most talented player we've ever seen at the position. And, I get the point about Aaron Rodgers, but I just think that there's something that Patrick Mahomes does that Aaron Rodgers, has not done. And, these are one of these things, getting back to the AFC Championship game for the fourth consecutive year in a row. But, you guys can disagree with me on that if you want. But, yeah, the Chiefs, I'm going to be honest. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. And I'm picking them to beat the Cincinnati Bengals in this game coming up on Sunday. I just think that the Chiefs having home field advantage, going up against Joe Burrow and the crew, I think that Joe Burrow will give them a good test. They've done it before. They beat them this season, but I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are on a mission. I think that this game is going to be a shootout, but at the end of the day, I'm rolling with the Chiefs for one reason and one reason only: Patrick Mahomes in that offense. I just feel like there's too many playmakers on the offensive side of the football for the Chiefs. And I think in this game, it's going to be a shootout. It's going to come down to which offense is going to perform better. Now, credit where credit's due. The Cincinnati Bengals are absolutely stacked on the offensive side of the ball. But I think that the Kansas City Chiefs defense will be able to come through in this game against Joe Burrow when it matters. I think that they'll be able to get sacks on him. And I think just that atmosphere of coming into KC in playoff time is just a bit different in Arrowhead. And I think that Patrick Mahomes will elevate his game to another level in this one and be able to just beat this Cincinnati Bengals defense and be able to, get that ball to, his playmakers. But if this game does come down to a field goal, I mean, I would bet on the Cincinnati Bengals, but I'm rolling with the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. Going to the NFC Championship game, who I think is going to win that game. As good as the defense has been from the San Francisco 49ers this playoffs, and I just want to take a look at when these two teams have played this season, because they do play twice a year, being in the same division. I know that San Fran beat them last time. It came off of a turnover from Matt Stafford in that game. They lost 27-24 in that game. They also lost 31-10 to the San Francisco 49ers in week 10. But, I think that the Rams have caught fire in the playoffs. I think that it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. And in terms of who I like more on offense, I mean, both of these defenses for these teams are sensational, but who I think is going to get it done on offense, I mean, Jimmy G has been in this position before, but I just trust Matthew Stafford and this LA Rams team just a bit more in this game, simply because I think that, they're better than Jimmy G. I mean, Matt Stafford's better than Jimmy G, and I think Matt Stafford isn't going to make that same mistake where he throws that interception to end the ball game for himself. And at this point, if he did that again, it would end his season. I think that Matt Stafford is locked in right now. I think he's playing at an unbelievable level. And, with Cooper Kupp, so many playmakers that this team has on the side of the ball, I think that in this game they'll find a way to be able to score more than 10 points against San Francisco. Of course, this being in LA, I think the crowd might be nuts. I mean, with the chance for this team to go to the Super Bowl, it being in LA, that's pretty special. But I think this game is going to come down to which quarterback I trust the most, which offense I trust the most. Obviously, both of these defenses are outstanding, but at the end of the day, it comes down to me trusting, in my opinion, Matthew Stafford a bit more and this LA Rams team. But if you're able to get in his grill and force him to make turnovers, I mean, that's something that the San Francisco 49ers team can do. Deebo Samuel is one of the best skill players in the league as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a very exciting game. I think both these games are going to be very close, but I'm rolling with the Kansas City Chiefs and LA Rams to get to the Super Bowl and set up a matchup that we could have seen, if Kansas City won back in the 2019 season, 2018-19 NFL season. So, that's going to do it for that portion of Graham's opinion. I'm going to end off with this, my rant about snowbanks. Now, I don't hate snowbanks, like I said before, per se, in the intro of this episode to start things off when I was telling you guys about what's on tap for today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. But I do hate snowbanks when I'm driving. Now, they are the worst hazards. It's another blind spot. I mean, when you're on a side street and you're trying to come out of the side street to make a turn wherever you're going, you got to creep up so much that you're not sure if a car is coming by, honestly. Like, you honestly can't see, and I think that's a problem. And I think that the city of Winnipeg needs to do something about that. Like, you guys remove the snow, you sand the roads, which is great. I appreciate that. That's amazing as a driver, even though the roads were really icy on Sunday night. But the reason I bring up snowbanks is because there was a driver, and I was on the way to Boston Pizza, and I was going down the main road, and there's a side street, and I guess this driver, I think it was a girl, crept out a bit too much, and she was established herself in the lane that I was trying to go in. So I had to slam on the brakes and honk the horn And, looking back at it, obviously she stopped too far, but she was just, I think that the snowbanks were in the way, and there were snowbanks where she was. And that is a problem, because that could have created a very bad situation for me where I could have hurt this person and hurt myself. And like if it was icier on the roads, if I didn't see that right away, I mean, it was icy on the roads, but not sheer ice where I hit on the brakes and nothing happened. But like that could have been such a bad situation. And it's these stupid snowbanks that are creating so much chaos. I feel like people trying to come off of side streets or coming off of a street that's not onto a main road. Like, the snowbanks, like, yes, you remove the snow in the city, and I appreciate that. Being a driver, me recently getting my license, I'm appreciating more and more things as a driver out there, as I used to not be able to appreciate that. I haven't had a chance to experience. But when you're trying to make a turn and there's a snowbank in your way and that's a blind spot created for you, like, remove the snow, yes, but like, I don't know, pile the snow, like, remove the snow and take it with you. I mean, you definitely have the ability to do that. You have money to invest in something like that. I feel like it's just creating so many problems. I know snowbanks have always been a thing, but something's got to change, because there's going to be some accidents happening with these snowbanks coming up, and I hope it's not me. But that's just my opinion on that. Honestly, love climbing on snowbanks. It's a lot of fun. But as a driver, that is why I hate snowbanks, just driving on the road. They are really nice to look at, though. I mean, I got a pretty big snowbank in my front yard. But yeah, that's going to do for this edition of Graham's Opinion, everybody. Be sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba and Graham's Opinion. Leave your thoughts and comments down below on, the things that were talked about in today's edition of Rise and Shine, if you guys want, as well as in Graham's Opinion. Did you agree with me and Seth Rach's takes on the Jets and NHL and the other stuff that we talked about, or the stuff that we talked about involving the Jets and the NHL? Did you agree with my takes with who I think is making it to the Super Bowl? Did you enjoy my rant on snowbanks? Did you agree, disagree? Be sure to leave your thoughts down below in the comments. But yeah, that is going to do for today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba Show. We'll be back on the network next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Time for an all-new edition of the show here bright and early. I believe it will be February next week, so that's crazy. January's already over. I want to check the date just in case so I don't get that wrong. It's going to be February 2nd next week. Wow. Crazy how time flies. We're already through January after this episode is done to start off Rise and Shine Manitoba for the new year in 2022. But I can't wait to see you guys in February. Special thanks to Harry Siemens, Gordie Tumilson, and Lorena Mitchell, as well as Seth Rach, for coming on the show today and being a part of this experience today. Special thanks to you, the viewer, for tuning in on your Tuesday morning and into the afternoon, as it is 7 minutes after 12 p.m. on this Wednesday. And also a special thanks to our sponsors in Fabricland, Winkler, AETI, and Evolve Green for sponsoring another edition of Manitoba Show, Rise and Shine Manitoba. Manitoba Show, like I said, will be returning next week on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Time. You guys can catch that one on our Facebook at ASTV Productions, on our Twitter at Amateur Sports TV, or on our website at astvproductions.com. Be sure to check us out on social media, on our Instagram at ASTV Productions, as well as on our Facebook and Twitter. I'm not going to say the names of those again because I already told you guys what the Facebook handle is and the Twitter handle is for us. But we will be posting the guest list on sometime on Tuesday, probably late Tuesday night. So stay tuned for that on our social media coming up next week. But until next week, folks, I'll see you then. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday today. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Have a great weekend and a great start to your week next week. And stay safe out there, as I always say. Stay warm out there. And also stay safe on the roads if you are driving. And don't let those snowbanks, cost you on the road, right? So, everyone stay safe on the road and stay safe in general. with all the stuff that's going on at this point in the world. So yeah, signing off now. Graeme Forsyth, host of Rise and Shine Manitoba, giving you the salute, giving you the peace sign. Until next Wednesday morning, everybody. I'll see you then. Cheers, everybody.